Welcome to Community Roundtable. They call me Ferdinand, the bringer of balance, leader of many disciplines, and one of your hosts of Community Roundtable. So, in today's episode 13, this is our fourth episode of the American Ancient Series, 7-episode series. We're going to be touching on the Nephilim. We're going to be touching on giants. All right, so this becomes a very significant piece of the 7-episode series because America was known as the land of the giants, and there has been many giants, or what could be considered giants, that have been found on this land. I think I got a map. Matter of fact, let me see if I can pull up a map real quick. I did find this book that I'm going to show you guys today. I want to touch a couple things in the book. I'm not going to hold anybody too long. We're going to go through this real quick, and then we're going to get up out of here. Right, so let's go ahead and put it up on the screen. This is episode 13. So before I pull that map, let's just go ahead and jump right into this book, The Ancient Giants Who Ruled America. All right, so I'm going to make this just a little bit larger for everybody. Let's scroll through here. Let's touch this because this is very significant information when we look at the history of this land and how much evidence is being uncovered, of the last, let's say, 150 years, 175 years, 200 years. There's been a lot of professionals in archaeology, a lot of professionals in anthropology, finding things, finding bones, finding cities. And the bulk of what they found has kind of gone against the narrative, so to speak. All right. So let's check this out. All right. So our first chapter, we had some pretty big ones. So just so you guys know, right, our first chapter is how big were they? Some of these bones that they found, I think the largest that they found was 18 feet, or at least that's what is recorded right now, that like random people found. So let's go to the first. Let's take a look at these images. All right. Serpent's Mound. All right. So this is in Ohio, Serpent's Mound. And they found. Okay. Let's go to. I want to show you all the actual pictures. Here goes some of the Paleo-Indian sites in North America. Okay, no, that's not the one. All right. So there's some of these are accounts of like newspaper articles. For example, this one right here, Baltimore American, November 15th, 1897. All right, the bones of giant Indians found in Maryland. Okay, and they're considering the 7 feet tall skeletons also giants. There's other articles that show it, like this one right here. This one's 8 feet tall. Got some 9 feet tall. Like I said, one of the largest that I have heard of in these stories has been 18 feet tall. This one right here, 8 feet 7 inches tall. This is in Ohio. Okay. All right. Well, we got one right here. The Big Whopper, 18 feet and counting. The following newspaper account from an 1870 edition of the Ohio Democrat postulates that the giant, whose skeleton was found with a 9-foot-long sword, must have stood 18 feet tall in his stockings. It then alleges that the skeleton was shipped to New York. Since this account is highly speculative, to say the least, let's just say, excuse me, that this was one big skeleton. Leave it at that. All right, so this one right here, the following newspaper account. Okay, so this is from the Ohio Democrat. Let's see what they got in here. The bones of the skeleton are remarkable white. The teeth are all in their places and all of extraordinary size. These relics have been taken to Tionista, where they are visited by large numbers of people daily. I got to figure out where Tionista is. Okay, so this is this Cardiff giant undone with an enormous iron helmet. This is the same as this big whopper. Now I wanted to touch a little bit on these newspaper articles because see, this is significant. See, it's one thing for a bunch of people to say, "Oh yeah, I found some giants in my backyard." It's a whole nother thing for that information to be published in a newspaper, right? Giving it, putting the information on record, time stamping it, printing that information. Now it becomes a certain type of record that we can always go back to. That changes everything. So when I see newspaper articles on topics like this, and then you have hundreds of them, it's hard to say that this is just a crock, whatever. Especially when one of our most popular Bible stories is of a giant in a fight with someone who's smaller, right? So who's that? That's David and Goliath. You know, Goliath is obviously noted in the Bible as a giant. Okay, and David is a regular size guy. However, the point is, the Bible says that there was giants, right? So this is something where we could look at it from a figurative point of view, which I would say most of the Bible, we want to look at it from a symbolic and figurative point of view versus trying to look at it from a literal point of view. And there may be some areas where we would look at it from a literal point of view. But when it comes down to the giants, I would say that that's one of those ones we might want to look at from a literal point of view, especially since we have a whole lot of evidence. Okay, here goes some giant skulls. San Antonio Express. All right, so this is down in Texas. Okay, we got some more pictures over here. All right, here goes some bones right here in Indiana Cemetery. Let's see what they got. Dated at 7,000 years old. Okay, just so that everybody has proper clarity, that means that these bones are from around the time of 5,000 BC. Okay, and this is in Santa Rosa Island. I'm not sure what state Santa Rosa Island is a part of, but let's get some more of these pictures. Peep this right here. This is a newspaper article, y'all. Like, I want y'all to really understand. Like, this is not just something somebody drew up and said, "Oh, this is cool. I made it in Photoshop. Let me show you." No, this is a newspaper article. Okay, they don't just publish this kind of stuff in newspaper articles unless there's some actual evidence. Okay, now this one right here looks like it's from the World newspaper, Sunday, October 6, 1895. The mummy of a 9-foot giant, quote unquote, Indian found in California. Okay. Let's see what the article says. Biggest giant ever known, 9 feet high and probably a prehistoric California Indian. Measurement well authenticated. Other big men and women of fact and fable who are famous types. I'm not sure. Maybe it says of giantism. Okay. America being the ancient land honestly shouldn't even be a wild idea anymore. Like, we've got the evidence. There's probably a bunch of people who be like, "Oh, well, show me the bones." All right. Well, there's a whole lot that the Smithsonian has covered up, right? But I don't think that we actually need the bones. When we have record like this, see, a lot of not every single newspaper is credible, you know, puts out credible information, puts out factual information. However, what we know is that a lot of the editors are striving to. Okay, and I'm speaking as a former professional in that field. I'm a former combat journalist, and not every single newspaper has just got a bunch of dishonest people. Okay, there's some that do. When you got this many newspaper articles dating all the way back to the 19th century, digging up giants, digging up cities, digging up all kinds of different things. That says a whole lot concerning what this land would have to be, especially since, like, when you really look at this land and you look at the history books, most of the history books doesn't give you anything past 500 years ago. Everything pretty much starts here in history in like 1492. And if you want something earlier, then you got to go down to like Mexican history. You got to go down to South American history. Then you can get a little bit about Cortez and all these guys, right? But most of the history books doesn't talk past 500 years ago, right? So what is hidden? Why won't they tell you about past 1492? Who was here? How were they living? There's another book that I'm going to pull up in just a second, right? Because I want to read something to y'all. But before we get into that, let's take a look at this. Look at this skull right here. This is huge. This skull is like 3-4 times the size of the guy who's a grown man who's standing right there. And this is the Lenape giants of the eastern United States. Wow. Their principal area of inhabitation encompassed much of the southeastern New York State, including the lower Hudson River Valley and most of Long Island and Staten Island, as well as eastern Pennsylvania around the Delaware and Lehigh valleys, in addition to the coastal regions that extend south to the North Shore of Delaware. Another designation of the tribe was the original people, which is similar to the appellation of the copper culture tribes of Michigan, which were called the original people, and the Anasazi of the Southwest, who were called the ancient ones. Interesting. Since their legends state that they originally migrated from the west, this is not surprising. Lenni Lenape legend relates what is no less than a mass exodus that began west of the Mississippi and involved the use of scouting parties that went out in search of suitable land. Although the legends are thought to be several hundred years old, research in Chapter 10 indicates that this migration may have happened as long ago as 5000 BCE as a result of the cataclysmic explosion of the Lassen volcano in California. Very, very interesting. Interesting. All right, so let's get back to these giants, y'all. Okay, look at this. Look at these giants. They didn't just took this woman. He just dragging her back to the lair. And I don't know who this is. He dragging this other guy at the same time. Maybe they're brothers or something. They're like, nah, we taking your girl. Like, this is just wild right here. Okay. So all this is in America, y'all. Okay. This is not England. This is not Asia. This is America. All right. And much of what's in this book is also about the mound builders. Okay. So keep in mind, we're talking about giants, mound builders, all in the same conversation. Okay. 7 feet 6 inches in Iowa, giants in Missouri. He was a trifle more than 7 feet 2 inches. Let's see, we got some more pictures. Right, a view of the eastern face of the PD Basin excavation under the drip line. not barbarians. Yeah, we know that now. Well, we already knew that, but a lot of other people didn't. Okay. I want to show. I want to take a break from this book for a second. I want to show y'all something. Okay, let me pull up another book for y'all. Give me one second. One quick second. I'm pull this up. All right. So let's come off of the Federal Reserve and let's go to another book. No, not Booker T. Washington. Y'all give me 1 second. Let me pull this book up. I've got the original history of of ancient America, right? I want to read something to y'all so y'all can get an understanding of the people of North America. All right, let's go back here. Let's get out of this. Let's go to history. All right, there we go. I just want to read a little bit of page 4 and page 5 real quick for y'all. Okay. This is some powerful stuff what I was reading in this book. Right now I'm reading it. I'm on page like 118. But when I read when I read the introduction, when I read the preface really like, got my claws dug in real deep, right? But once I got to page 5, I was like, yo, this is crazy. Right? Okay, so page 4. Start here. Okay. The fundamental error with all writers upon the Aborigines of America is that they have viewed them as one people. Authors have, therefore, been confounded by the different customs and ceremonies of religion as practiced in the two great divisions of the continent. They have seen that the natives were, to a certain extent, in one part of the vast domain, idolaters, and not in the other. That the North was essentially Republican in every aspect of its political existence, while that of Mexican America was as essentially composed of kingdoms and empires and governed by despotic monarchs, and that republics were interwoven with them. That each man in the North was a warrior and an equal, acknowledging no superior but their leader in time of battle. And should he fall in action, there was not a member of the tribe in which they politically lived but could have taken his place and filled it with similar courage and ability. In Mexico, in Mexican America, and I want to be very clear, y'all, because I didn't read the first 3 pages. So when they say Mexican America, or when they say Mexican America, they're talking about modern day Mexico and south, all the way to the tip of Chile, all the way to the tip of Argentina. Okay. So we're talking about all of South America and Mexico, Central America. We're talking about all of that area. In Mexican America, they were not equal, but from the emperor, they descended by degrees to the serf and slave. In that country, stone and stucco temples and palaces were, and still continue to be found, erected with costly magnificence and in which were jeweled idols, to which they bent the knee. Their rich dwellings were splendid mansions adorned with sculptured and beaten gold, and graced with the works of art, and as a people, enjoying all the refined elegances of life. But in the north, their temple was the azure canopy of Jehovah, adorned with its myriads of golden stars. And when beneath that sublime dome, they bent the knee, it was to the Almighty God alone. Their palaces were the gorgeous vistas of the forest. The columns were the gigantic trees, each year increasing in their stateliness. Their shadowy and painted roofs were the far spreading branches. Excuse me, and nature's tinted foliage. Their mansions were those of independent wanderers, even the simple tents of Israel. And as for jeweled idols and figures of beaten gold, they presented the diamonds of the human eye, radiant with intellectual beams. and glancing from the living emblem of the first and priceless image, placed in Eden's garden by the architect of the universe. Y'all, I don't know if y'all can see this, but I'm looking at a rewriting of history that needs to happen. We need to completely relook at everything. We need to have private institutions, private industry reinvestigating everything. Everything. And with that, I say peace. Y'all be blessed and expose your gift.